I'm Darren Tomke with Broadway Camera, BroadwayCamera.com, here to showcase a new foray into the action camera market by DJI called the Osmo Action. And in case you're wondering, that's a full color front screen. So here is the Osmo Action. You got kind of a matte finish to it with a matte rubber and tough plastic covering the exterior of the chassis. If you compare it to the GoPro Hero 7 Black, it's a bit shorter and a bit wider. The battery and the SD card doors hold quite tightly in place. It's because the entire unit is dustproof and waterproof down to 11 meters underwater. You can even tell if the battery doors are on correctly because you'll get this little orange area showing you, oh, and there you go, it's locked fully in place. So pop this side door open, you'll see a USB Type-C port as well as a micro SD card slot. You can also pop the battery off, and this is super nice and awesome for DJI to include in their first foray into action cameras, because not every action camera actually comes with a removable battery, so that's pretty awesome. Another huge bonus if you've ever worked with action cameras before is how much of a hassle it is to put on or change filters for the lens. That is, if you even get an option to have changeable filters for the camera. This one comes with an easy screw-off cap, which is straightforward and is easily my new favorite method for any action camera in terms of filters. The back is a 2.25-inch touchscreen, which is fluid and really easy to use, which reminds me heavily of the Osmo Pocket swipe menu. So the side of the camera has this little QS button on it. At a quick push, you can switch between the different modes of the camera, and if you hold it down, you switch to the front screen. Hello. And right back over to the back screen, and yes, it is that easy. Now, this screen on the front is kind of the big game changer of this camera. It's got a 1.4-inch full-color screen, and when I first tried it, I was actually rather shocked at how good the quality was and how low the latency was. Also, because the screen is on the front of the camera and it doesn't tilt or rotate at all, you don't have to worry about other potential breakpoints of the camera. Everything just works. The menus are intuitive and straightforward, and the camera operates very fluidly. It honestly spoiled me a little bit. After a few days of working with the Osmo Action, going back to the other action cameras I have access to kind of felt like loading up an older cell phone or flip phone. Everything else just kind of seems clunky by comparison to this. So when you actually go out and buy the Osmo Action, you have the body and you also have the case, which is a pretty firm and rugged case that feels like it can handle quite a bit of punishment, which is great for an action camera. And you should also get a USB-C to USB Type-A cable, which will allow you to charge the camera. And if you'd like to connect other than Bluetooth or wireless, you can connect via cable. And as of writing this whole setup will set you back about $469 Canadian, which is around the same price point as the Osmo Pocket. So you'll actually get the option to choose which of those cameras suits your style. So let's go over some features of this thing. First off is this new electronic stabilization DJI is calling RockSteady. I did some testing on the RockSteady and it's actually fantastic. Basically, I'm just jogging forward. I've got my arm tucked to my side with my elbow against my rib cage like I'm holding a football. With the stabilization off, it is quite shaky, but once you turn it on, it is shocking how smooth it is. It really does look like perfectly run gimbal footage somehow pushed through on a smooth level. And we can also put it against the GoPro Hero 7 Black as well, just so you have full context for how good the stabilization is in the Osmo Action. This is the second test we had. I'm just letting my feet fall as I go forward, and I'm trying to make this one really true to life. I do have my elbow tucked in my side once again, just to make sure that every camera is in the same position when I do the tests, but I'm not trying to do any duck walks or any smooth walking. Just going about my day. And once again, you can see kind of ridiculous amounts of stabilization coming out of the Osmo Action. I think it's DJI's experience with drone footage and trying to stabilize against heavy wind, as well as the gimbals they have for like the Osmo Pocket that gives them the experience to do this. And then once again, you can go against the GoPro Hero 7 Black. And in my personal opinion, among the three tests, the GoPro has a little bit of a wobble and a shake to it. And the Osmo looks a little bit more like gimbal footage. But if you feel like you feel differently, just leave a comment down below. So here is one of the few time lapses I got with the Osmo Action. And honestly, I'm extremely happy with how the Osmo Action does time lapses. One of the nice things about it is that rather than go through some complicated menu system, you just swipe through to the number of seconds you want for an interval, and then it will actually count you down. And for the first little while, it will also, on the back of the camera, have pictures as to what it's currently looking at. It is extremely intuitive. I could probably hand the camera off to pretty much anyone and give them about 10 seconds and they could come up with a time lapse, which is one of the things I really appreciate about the Osmo Action. It just works. It's kind of my thesis for this camera at this point. So there are sort of two ways to do slow-mo in the Osmo Action. This one is just taking 240 frames per second and then slowing it down in post. This is the sort of most extreme version of a slowdown you'll get, but there's also a dedicated slow-mo feature in the Osmo Action. And that one, you just go to the back of the camera, you hit slow-mo, and you can go up to 8 times slow-mo. This is the footage you're looking at right now, is taken with that 8 times slow-mo mode. And here's a few more camera angles with that 8 times slow-mo. It looks ridiculously buttery smooth. I did not have to speed this up in post. It does it all in camera, which I really appreciate. And here's a bit of slow-mo footage on the longboard, especially with an action camera. You can't really get away with making a video without doing a little action in there as well. And you can really see how the slow-mo helps smooth out some of that motion. You can't turn RockSteady on in the full 8 times slow-mo, but you can get some really good slow-mo action out of it. And it's right around here you can see that the gaff tape I used to affix the Osmo to the longboard is slowly coming off with the Osmo. So here's a bit of footage of DJI's HDR video mode added in. DJI does provide a flat picture profile that you can shoot things on, but if you're doing a high contrast scene like this one, and you want to be able to get lots of dynamic range out of it without having to grade heavily in post, they say you can get an extra 3 stops out by using that HDR video feature, and it can go up to 4K 30. And if you look at some of these shots, you'll definitely notice in the blues of the skies and in the shadows, you do definitely get more detail out of it. So here's what some vlogging footage would look like using the Osmo Action. It's got 2 onboard microphones. Those are what you're hearing right now, which I actually really like because if you cover one of them up like this, there's still a chance of having some audio come through as opposed to just being completely lost. It really gives you 2 chances if you accidentally cover one of the microphones. I've got RockSteady on and I'm just walking around the riverfront. Honestly, it's a pretty fantastic vlogging package. It might not have as good image quality as something like the Osmo Pocket, but the durability for something like hiking or adventure films really makes up for that. And honestly, it's a pretty great option. What's also nice is how ridiculously easy it is to connect to your phone. It's as easy as poke, you're connected, and it is surprisingly low latency. Should be able to do up to 4K 60 according to DJI, and the app is really similar to the Osmo Pocket. You can just swipe through different modes, and then you have extra features on the left. And it kind of adds a little bit of extra functionality, except you can do it as a monitor from across the room wirelessly. So that's our overview of the DJI Osmo Action. Honestly, after I got my hands on the Osmo Pocket a while back, I was really excited and had my expectations set rather high for the Osmo Action. And honestly, after trying it out, I'm not disappointed. Everything from the ease of use in the app and the back screen to the quality of the footage coming out of it. I pretty much recommend this for anyone coming from any area in the action camera market. Anything from family videos where you don't want your kids to break the camera to skydiving. And the fact that there's a front screen and amazing in-body stabilization means you can just throw it on the front of anything from a canoe to a motorbike, and it just works. At this point in time, this is going to be my go-to action camera recommendation for anyone doing pretty much anything. I'm Darren Tomke with Broadway Camera and BroadwayCamera.com, and we'll hope to see you again next time.